Oh, thanks, Julie. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for that beautiful welcome, and thank you, and I know you do it all the time, Jo, thank you for acknowledging as well. That is so important, because we can't be connected in any way or hope to understand unless we show not only reverence but respect for the people who are the true custodians of the land, and work alongside and work somehow with that respect, hoping to probably inspire some trust and also giving trust as well. This is, it is my 18th publication. It is a lifetime of work, of gardening, connecting with plants, studying ethnobotany so that I can understand and share those things with other people as well. But another big part of my work is giving back, because unfortunately a lot of our Indigenous people have lost a lot of these things through white occupation, through mistakes that we've made and others have made as well, and they've lost that knowledge. And it's not to say that others have that knowledge, but we've been keepers of that knowledge even when we've come into this country. Our ancestors have, and they've kept botanical works. And I talk a lot about the botanical explorers of old who collected things not in the best way whatsoever, but that knowledge is still there. And while that knowledge was kept, and while the country's true landowners and true custodians were displaced and things like that, these terrible things happened, this knowledge was still here. So it's up to us today to not only connect with that for ourselves and for those people into the future, but to do so in a way to give back, because there are so many young Indigenous people that have no connections with these things or have very little or inspiration. So it's helping that way. I know I'm going to bang on the drum, and I do it all the time, is community gardening, and it is a way. There's so many community gardens that are springing up everywhere in Australia and where I live on the Central Coast, and that's a big part of it. It's not just the vegetables and the edibles and the medicinal herbs and beautiful fruits. A lot of community gardens, like ones I've been connected with, are growing these Indigenous and native edibles and listening and connecting with Indigenous communities so that we can try to inspire and help out in some way, respectfully, honourably, and after we've been asked as well. You don't come in there, you know, like a freight train. And those who know me know I've got an A-type personality, I suppose, an excitable one. But you honestly, you can be like that and still have that that complete respect, and that's what I've been and to be part of that conversation is hugely important, hugely important. Now, the Green Witch Oracle, which I'm so excited to launch today, this is, I'm going to say it's a pinnacle work. I can never say something's a pinnacle of my work, because learning about any sort of plants, so gardening, using plants in any sort of way, it's like this. There's no pinnacle. It's not even a circle. You're just going to keep going, keep going, keep going. And so this is part of that pathway and journey for me as well. The Oracle is out of my journals. When I teach people gardening or anything, that's the first thing you need before you need a spade even is a journal, okay? Oh, wow. Now, I don't, you can see this is the way I journal. It's like, oh, blank pages here. It's like whichever book I pick up, because I'll forget one and grab another one, I use. And I actually put a little content thing here in the front. So I'm happy to ask questions about how do you ever find anything, Cheryl? I usually put contents in the front. But I draw, I write all my notes. So if anything that you've ever connected with of mine, any of my books, any of my decks, any of my work, it all comes out of these journals. That's where it all comes from, all the notes. And they're things that I've noticed about plants, they're things that that I've learned, that's with gardening, with using even flowers in floristry as well, things that I've noticed, the language of flowers. And my drawings also start the, I suppose, what do you call it, artistic conversation with how the decks are going to end up looking as well. So that's how that all came about. Now, oh, that's Flora there. Hang on. Those of you like Flora, there you go. She's my little cartoon character I draw. So I'm not really methodical like that with the way I keep my notes and things, but they're all there. And it's amazing when you do these things, how you remember. Like, it's the old school thing. If you write down things, you remember it. Yeah. And I do. I remember things better. So when people ask me questions and they're like, how do you remember all those amazing facts about fennel or the botanical history of something. I go, because I've written it down somewhere and I've drawn it and I've really immersed myself in it. So the Greenwich Oracle, here it is, and I'm so happy to be supporting a local business in my local area as well to launch this, but also to speak about it worldwide as well. Now, Rockpool Publishing have published this. They publish all of my work, and I'm very happy because it's very beautiful looking as well. Not that we just judge books by their covers. Absolutely. But it sort of has the feel of my journal, yes. See, like that's it. Yes. Oh, and the background, I'm just going to tell you this because it sort of feeds into the whole thing. So I'm a bit of an eco nut. So the backgrounds of my journals and everything I do, my artwork, they're all the things that are left on my palettes because I paint pictures as well. So instead of just rinsing things off down the drain, actually I might be able to even show you this. Just to, yeah, here we go. So
do that. I've just been asked to bring the camera closer. So take the time to find what you need to find, and I will just move this closer. So just.
I don't know. I've got the sing songs on. It's about the radio. It's like I'm so used to the radio and sing something. There we go.
Oh.
So I've started sketching these.
Is that better?
That's really good.
I'm sorry.
How close are you going to be? Okay. So there we go. There we go. So the people in the live audience can have a look afterwards. So the backgrounds, I just swoosh it off my brushes. So there's acrylics, there's all sorts of things on it. There's some gesso there as well. See, they're little sketches that I've just made because they're things that are flowering in my garden now. I haven't put notes in this one yet, but I will in the next day or so. But that's it. That's kind of ready to go. Have I got like ones ready to go? But that's what I do. Because here's me, I don't like white pages, and also I don't like waste. So like, why waste it? So that's why I end up with lots of books, and then whichever's dry, and that's how I do it. Anyway, that's it. And there's fennel because I thought I drew a good fennel. Don't always grow.
You did draw a good fennel. How pretty is that?
It's a good fennel.
It looks like fennel.
So the Greenwich Oracle deck. The reason I wanted to put this all together is that when I've been doing everything I do is about plants. A lot of things about flowers, but flowers are just parts of plants, and they're the part that calls out to us. I focused a lot in my earlier published works on flowers for a really, really good reason. In my botanical studies and my ethnobotanical studies, I learned that to not like flowers and to disregard flowers is actually being psychologically proven that that's not a good thing. So when people say to you, no, I hate flowers, and this is said in many, many different places I've looked, so if you say that, you're either fibbing or you might be a psychopath. So, you know. So I probably, you like flowers, I like, pretend I like flowers. The thing is, we were hunters and gatherers once, okay? Well, that's what we were, hunters and gatherers. And the gathering part was that we needed to know where things were going to fruit and where vegetables were going to happen. So we would look at the flowers. The flowers call out to the pollinators. These plants are really, really smart. So they have flowers to call out to pollinators to come and pollinate them. So it's the sexual part of reproducing. But they also call out because they need somebody to disperse the seeds. Okay, so it's animals, and we're an animal, okay? So they need someone to eat that apple and spit the seeds out somewhere, because you can't have all the apple trees all growing underneath the apple tree. You know, you can't just have these apples falling down and then all apple trees happening. You need those seeds to be dispersed. So I was reading a lovely thing the other day about avocados, and they've got a really big seed. So you can see the sort of fruits and how they're dispersed by the size of the seeds as well. And originally they were dispersed by sloths because they're sort of slippery, and they're actually the avocado seeds poisonous because hummingbirds and birds with pointy beaks, if they burrow into it or peck into it, it's poisonous for them, so it deters them. Yeah, they always go, I don't want to die. So that's why it's like that, but it's not poisonous to the sloth because they're eating it and they're just sort of carrying it when they're going, and they just drop it. So it's really interesting. So there's, you know, the botany 101 or ecology. But so that's what we need to look at, is like, why are we attracted to flowers? And I started my early work on flowers because I knew, like the plants, that attracts people, and I wanted people to be part of the conversation. At the time, there was a lot of people writing about this sort of thing, but not in depth enough and about gardening. And gardening is my first true passion and thing that I do. I can't stand not having a garden wherever I've been and whatever I've done. That's my happy place, and good place to be spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. I just feel me. That's the thing. I can do it alone and do it with groups of people, but that's what I love to do. And I think with what's happened in the last 12 months, a lot of people are loving gardening. They're starting to garden. They're getting into community gardens as well because they're buying pot plants. One of our lovely guests today came in with a pot plant and tried to apologise for it, but I was like, it's all right, sing it to the choir. You don't have to justify that to me. But that's what we're doing because we're looking at connecting with nature. So it's no secret or surprise to me that so many young people as well, and you're younger, a lot younger than me, but my daughter is crazy for pot plants. So these people in their 20s, I don't see it as like, oh, they're just, jumping on the bandwagon and doing 1970s again. I see it as wanting to connect. And they're living in our cities, mostly. They're living in apartments and small places. They can't have the big veggie garden. They don't have enough skills at the moment to go, well, I can grow tomatoes and lettuce and everything in pots. But it's easy to go and buy a pot plant from, Bunnings or a local store and have that connection still. But they can't go to the parks and things. They can't go surfing and all that. So it's a wonderful thing, I think, that this interest and focus is happening. That's the magic of plants. It's not something that is, I don't even see it as ethereal. And I don't even want to say it's real earth magic. And I know that they're terms and there's a lot to be said for them. But to me, to garden and to have plants and to understand them is just, that is what we probably call magic, but it just is. That's what it is. It's the universal energy that flows through all of us. We're all connected. So coming back to the flowers, so that's what I first did. But I wanted to, as you do, it's not a plan, it's just as I've progressed and as I've shared things and as people have understood and connected and said, yeah, I get that. I've always written about gardening and ways you can use things as well, and shared what I've experienced along the way, connecting with other people. And that's been really, really important to me because I've done a lot of things alone or in community groups, small community groups, but not on a larger scale. So then I realised people wanted to have more focus on what they perceived as the magical parts of plants and what they perceived as somehow esoteric as well. And I could see that in my journals, and every time I put my journal on social media and I put a page up, people are like, that's the thing that they love the most. And I was working towards this oracle at the time, and I was calling it something completely different. And it was suggested to me to be calling it the Greenwich Oracle. To me, it was just the gardening oracle. That was it. Yeah. But I can see that now. And so, so this is what's happened. So the oracle itself, it looks a bit like my journals. Oh, come closer. I'll never get a job on selling things on television. What are they called? TFSN or something?
Late night shopping addictions.
Late night shopping addictions. Be like, here we go. No steak knives, okay? Maybe some steaks, okay? Right, sorry. My locals will know I do a radio show as well, so it'll be a bit funny. It's a funny gardening show, so there you go. So I love the inside of it. It's all like pretty. And touch the book. Touch the book. Sorry, I've got to touch the book. No, the book's got this lovely texture to it too. It does. It's really, and the pages are, like, yeah, it looks a bit like my journal. And like all of my oracle decks, there's gardening tips in here as well. So there's gardening tips, and it's just the start. It's like when to plant things. And look, there's so much more that you need to know about planting and growing things. You need to find out these things, and I'll show you in a minute where you can find those things out. But this is to start you off. So I'm letting you know, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, the time of the year to plant them, because I think that's the most important thing, and the thing people get wrong. They'll look at, a packet of, say, leek seeds, and it says, plant in blah, 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 this sort of, if you're in a temperate area, do this, and they go, oh, well, I'm going to plant now. I've just found it at the shop. Must be okay. Wrong. Okay. I know Joe's got seeds here. So make sure you find out what sort of area you live in and when that should be planted. So that's important. So I've got that and a few little of my tips as well. Also the different correspondences of each plant as well. So you can use that in magical spells, you can use it in aromatherapy, you can use it in herbal medicine as well. Don't eat any of these things unless you're talking to a herbalist, a registered herbalist. But these are the correspondences. So this is the things that they mean. This just with like crystals. So if we say a rose quartz means love and it means healing, same sorts of things. So they're the meanings behind them. And then also what we've got here is a little spell as well. So I know the witchy amongst us all would like that. So I've written a spell for each one as well. These are all really easy to get vegetables and herbs. And I've split the deck into fruits, vegetables, herbs, and flowers. And yes, they do represent the 4 elements, okay? And the little elemental signs down the bottom, so you can see that as well. So you can divide the deck up into the elements and then pick out your fire, water, air, and earth and read that way. There's a few spreads in here that you can have a look to do that with. And you can also use the whole deck and then see how those elements come up. So it's really important. Now, for the botanically minded amongst us, there is lots of fruits and vegetables that are, you know, not actually fruits and vegetables. Like a tomato is a fruit, but I've put it into the vegetables because I've taken the culinary meaning. I have based this deck and where I have put them based on the ethno part of ethnobotany. Ethnobotany is people and plants and the relationship between both of them. This is a deck of cards for humans to use, okay? And I know some people will go, I don't really feel that's for me. I don't actually care if you scribble it out and put it into the fruit pile because it's your deck, okay? That's the way I am. But when I created it, that's what I thought I would do. Now I'm going to do, I'll show you the back. It's got the elements on there. There we go. And I'm going to give you a flip through as we go through. So each of the cards, can you see them nice and, am I being a TVSN host okay?
How about I might pick it up just for this section?
Okay,
how's that sound?
do that.
Alrighty, and then that way you don't have to lean forward so far.
So we'll do a little flick through
there
of
we
each.
go. Well, hang on,
okay.
right.
All right.
Fluoro.
Fluoro?
I think we should be all right.
Like that?
Yes.
Perfect. Do you want black underneath it? Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that.
Oh, look at that. Hey, pop, everyone. Now I am like Tiffany. Okay, don't look at, I'm sorry about my gardening hands, it's reality. So there you've got abundance for grapes, okay? So I think, and they're numbered as well, the cards. So looking at as well, and just with the keyword, and I've just picked one keyword out, there's a whole lot of them, but looking at this, to read into it as well, I mean, they're juicy, they're purple, all of those things that I've chosen to go into the cards. Oh yes, come up here, studio audience. Yeah. So you can see all of those things, they should be able to trigger things into you if you're reading as well and matching them in with other things. I always put botanical names on things as well. So there's one of your herbs, memory, rosemary, of course. You know, we think about that's how you use it in aromatherapy. And this is where I've gotten these meanings from. There, see the little symbols down there? There we go. So strawberry is about agreements. Okay, so that's it. The keyword's the biggest. So if you're reading with these, that's what should, you know, pop out of you first. Cos lettuce. I'm just a big lover of cos lettuce. This is, you know, I created this out of all things that are growing in my garden. So that's why you've got cos lettuce and not other lettuce at that time when I did this. Beetroot, passion fruit, and here's one of the flowers. There we go. So longevity for chrysanthemums. And that's popped up in a few of my different things. Tarragon's one of my favorite herbs. And of course that's fire. So you can see the herbs of fire. They're the flowers are more connected with emotions. Sorry, I was just making sure I wasn't flipping this. There's your, and of course tomatoes mean love. There we go. Basil is trust. Chili is stimulation, and where I got the meanings for this is all the Doctrine of Signatures, which is the meanings behind the uses of the plants. What are they used for? What do they look like inside? The Doctrine of Signatures goes back to us from herbal medicine, that it's like, cures like, it is the way a plant grows and moves through the environment as the legacy of their plants and the seeds carry on as well. We go marigolds about positivity. It's very much connected to death and regeneration as well. So that's why it's connected in those sorts of ways. This one's snapdragon, about purification. It's also about stopping gossip and getting rid of things that you don't want as well. And if you look at the plant, they look like little mouths, and people, you know, the way they go like that, and their little seeds pop as well. It's just like pop out. So looking at the way that a plant how it acts in its environment and what it's for is how we get the meanings. And when you start studying ethnobotany and the doctrine of signatures and the way things have been used before, you can start to get this idea for yourself. And it's not about you sitting there meditating and coming up with ideas. It's about growing the plant, studying it, and any meanings that you find as well that other cultures have attributed to it is making sure that what you're sharing is done in a way that is permissible and also respectful as well. Success, peppermint. So peppermint's a really stimulating herb. You know, you think of it, you have mint. I feel like I need a mint now because I've been talking so much. A drink. There we go. Cleansing. Lemon. Well, we kind of just know that, okay? Apple's about love, but it's also continuance. People think of apple of like, oh, it means just love. It actually means continuous and partnership and staying together more than, and things. And you think of, even in biblical stories, we've got and it wasn't actually an apple, sorry. No, we'll probably think it's a fig, you know, because apples weren't around there. Apples come from Kazakhstan, so they don't come from the area that the Garden of Eden might have been in. So it's more about continuance, staying together. That's what it means. So that's it. Marjorie's always about happiness and fairies. You know, fae folk. There we go. And of course, corn is about ritual. There's so much attributed to corn wherever it's been grown, wherever it's a Northern American plant, and wherever, and the Americas, it has a lot to do with ritual, because it's more than just keeping people alive and the food source as well. Lime is about luck. You know, it's cleansing things out to make luck happen for you. And orange, I mean, you don't have to look at the colour of it, it's energy. Look at our orange Banksias, those of you who are listening in Australia, and us here in Australia. Orange is always about stimulation and starting things up, and eating a juicy orange, and the it's high in sugars, isn't it? It gives you that energy. So there you go. Bananas about duality, and they're also a very obviously sexual thing. And where we put these, bananas are actually berries, okay, because they've got little seeds within them. So this is the botanical thing. So I can't really put these all in their own sort of separate things, so I've divided them for the smoothness of the deck. Okay, time is courage. Time has been used for courage for centuries, okay, in the Middle East, Mediterranean, where it's from. It is thought that, I think it was the ancient Romans used to put it in their sandals, actually, the warriors, you know, because it would make them walk further, so they thought it made them more courageous as well. There's the fennel, there you go. So that's from the
hang on, we'll do that again, but slower. There you go.
So there's the fennel. Okay, so fennel's about strength. Okay, now here's an interesting one. This will help you as well if you're thinking about this when you're looking at correspondences and how things might connect with you. I'm not a big fan of fennel. Okay, I find it like, I don't really like that taste. I can have, believe it or not, a really over the top personality. So I probably need to calm down a bit. So the last thing I probably need is this strength and powerful, fiery kind of a herb. You know, I need less of it. Not a big fan of chili. Don't mind it, but I like things that are a bit more. I love chamomile tea. I love calm things because I'm attracted to the things I need a little bit more. So that's how, these things sort of work. Divination, chives. Now chives, if you're into green witchcraft or anything, you have to grow chives. There you go. Because they're used you can tie spells, binding spells together. You can, any sort of knot spells as well. I'm doing this because I did watch, what's it called, Discovery Witches last night. I caught up finally. I've been so busy. I was like, watch the last 3 episodes. But honestly, chives are so fantastic. They're great for cleansing, divination spells. They're great for tying things up. Put a little bit in your smoking sort of things that you're using to cleanse things out as well. Chives are the go. They're of the family that helps you. The alums are all like alums are onions, garlic, all that sort of thing.
Alums, right.
Yep. Okay, fertility, watermelon. There we go. This great big round thing that if you burst it open, looks like blood, and seeds go everywhere. You can have lots of watermelon. So there you go. There's the language of plants and how you can understand the powers and the energies of them just by looking at them. That's it. And here we go. Here's another element. It's the onion for protection. Now's the time. I know we're going to watch this. We can watch this whenever, but now in Australia you can plant onions, well, in this area anyway. And we all know about hope. Now here's a really good little thing for you at the moment. So daffodils mean hope and courage, And I'm sure that we're all aware worldwide, it's the symbol for the Cancer Institute. So it was brought in, and I think it's most countries it is. I know it's Australia, I'm pretty sure it's America. Oh, no, I'm sure it's America, and the UK as well. So what came first, and why did this happen? And was the person really witchy who decided, like I'm going to have, the symbol of daffodil as hope for the cancer centre as well? It has just been sort of known, they're from Wales, it's the natural, from the British Isles, it's actually the national flower of Wales as well. And it's always been a symbol of hope, because if you look at it, you see my face, there you go. It's like, it's yellow and cheery, isn't it? It's really yellow and cheery. And it's a little trumpet, so it's calling forward. If you want to think on an angelic thing, I'm not connected with angels, but, a lot of people think it's calling to the angels for help. It's calling to anybody. It's opening up to possibilities as well. Just looking at it. And the green, it comes out in spring. Anything, one of the first flowers that comes out in spring. New beginnings, new starts. So these are how you get these meanings. And if you garden, you'll see it for yourself, and you'll remember it and know it. And understand that feeling of energy as well, to be in a beginning. So that's how we get those sorts of meanings as well. I would say, I don't know, I'm not the person who chose the emblem, and I'm believing it was somewhere, I think it was in the States first, at a hospice they first started using it, or an institute, I remember somewhere in my brain. It was chosen, but I say the plants reach out, and that language of plants is there, and we've just forgotten it. So people are now, they look at it, and it's somewhere in your subconscious, somewhere in your ancestry, that you connect with that language and go, that means hope. So the person who was doing that just went, oh, I didn't choose a rose, I chose that, because I can feel it and sense it. That's real magic to me. Okay, so P, communication. What does it look like? It's like everyone's there talking to each other, and they've always been known as communication, helping people out, that's it. People learn to count with little peas, those sorts of things back in the day. That's it. Now, carrots are funny. They are attached with clarity, to being able to see really well. It's actually a little bit of a myth, but science has proved over the years that there are the beta carotenes in there, and vitamin A does help our eyesight. It came about because, yes, rabbits and a lot of nighttime animals eat them, so it was just assumed that, oh, well, they're around in the nighttime, so their eyesight must be really, really good. But also, botanically, I'll just blow that out of the water now. The leaves are quite pungent on, when they're crushed or anything. You can smell it. It has a scent that you can really recognise. So it's recognisable at night by these nighttime creatures. The same as flowers at nighttime are usually the ones that are really heavily fragrant at night, or very brightly sort of white colour, but mostly the fragrance. They're pollinated by moths and bats and animals that are attracted by those scents. And because not everyone can compete in the daytime for that pollination. So that's it. But with clarity, the thing that it came out with the eyesight is that the Second World War was actually a propaganda campaign by the British Air Force, and they didn't want the Germans to know they had radar. So they said the reason that our pilots are so good is because they eat lots of carrots, and the Germans apparently started eating lots of carrots. Sorry, Dad. My dad's did. But he wasn't a pilot. But yeah, they did. Yeah, they got on that way, didn't they? And they did have all that propaganda. So, but they did come from sort of rabbits. But but we today, how many people have said that? I used to say, eat your carrots, kids, because your eyesight, or if we get older and go, if we drink lots of carrot juice, our eyesight will get better. Well, it's got lots of other good stuff in there. Okay.
It won't hurt you.
Sorrel's one of those, what do they call hipster foods? I've got 2 hipsters, my kids. It means affection, and that's good. It's about being together. That's not red sorrel. Red sorrel means passion. So I'm answering all your questions before anyone asks any. Sorrel in general means affection, and red sorrel will mean passion and affection, that side of it. So the colours of fruits and vegetables do change on a subtle level. It will still be the base keywords, but of course the colours and even the sizes. So if you've got giant red sorrel, say, I don't know if there is such a thing, is there? I don't think so. But if you did breed it, even say, then it would mean something, bigger, massive, something moving on as well. And the fact that you've hybridized it, it is something that you've created and put into your you're growing as well. That's what it would add a little bit of a thing with it as well. Okay, so geranium, pink geranium, all about healing. Okay, red geraniums are all about healing our passions and healing the things that really keep us on fire and keep us moving forward as well. And people who feel like they've lost their way, lost their mojo, red geraniums are amazing. So say if some of these things come up in a reading for you, okay? So this is Pink Rose's gratitude. So if I was doing a reading, I just pull this out for the day. It's a good example. Then I would say, look, someone, I haven't perhaps given enough attention to someone and told them I appreciate them. Maybe someone that I'm working with might feel a little lost at the moment. Or maybe I need to be a little bit more grateful or be heard as well. So they're just from one key word and having a look at that rose. And then another thing is to have that plant around you. If you really feel connected when you're doing a reading or you're doing a reading for somebody else, connecting with the essence, connecting with the plant somehow, dried plant materials as well, that's going to bring that energy closer to you. Because after all, these are just cards, they're just tools and not the actual plants, but they're made from my garden, connected to my plants, and all plants are connected to each other because of the way, same as all humans are connected to each other, because we're all a family and we all, you know, we procreate, we carry on, and we've all got the same sort of DNA. Plants are exactly the same. So my pink rose is going to be related to your pink rose as well, or whoever's pink rose that you found, or the substance from it, as long as it's ethically grown. We've just gone through Valentine's Day, so none of all those Colombian imports, but yeah, it's done in that sort of way. Okay, I'm actually a big fan of broccoli. Yum. Okay, such a good one, but it's about leadership and about going forward. Oh, that way. There we go. Thank you. Leadership, taking charge, getting yourself up and going as well, and maybe you're the problem. Now, that's a tough one if you get that. And eat more broccoli, all right? Everybody needs to eat more broccoli.
I love broccoli.
You love broccoli. There you go. See, and usually people who love broccoli are usually stronger leaders as well. That's what you usually find. They've got it within them. So, you know, when a certain president said, you know, I don't want to get political here, but, you know, that he hated broccoli, it was like, oh, okay. Well, that's what happens when you start studying plants and understanding the meanings, and people say, you know, I love this, I love that. You just, okay, something in that. And if they, yeah, it's so much easier than crystals. People don't really, and there's a bit, but if someone says, I really love broccoli, you're like, whoa, okay, this is going to take over, or I really hate it. It's like, oh, there's something about leadership or taking control, or they feel out of control. That's the other thing. So maybe that, I'm not going to say, that certain president who said it at the time, he might have felt out of his depth. He might have felt that his whole life if he'd always felt that way. Because how many people have changed their the things that they've liked? I have. There's foods that I couldn't stand Brussels sprouts my entire life, and all of a sudden I love them. You know, and then something in that. You change, or sometimes there's things that you have liked and then you go off them, you know, or you crave things. I'm always interested when I crave things, and it's true that there'll be vitamins and minerals and things in them that will help you, but also what does it mean? What's the history of that plant? You know, what could that mean about me? What's happening at the moment? Is there, and I'm not going, you know, they're sitting in your garden going, hello, there's a special message for you. It really is telling you there's an aspect of that. Yeah. If I get something like tranquility, the violet, and I'm segueing into this because this is a really good one. So violets are around a lot at the moment, and we're planting them at the moment here in this area, but I'm noticing them. Now they're there all the time. I've got, what have I got? Calendula, violet, roses, elderflower. I've got quite a lot of plants flowering at the moment, but I'm noticing the violets. I'm walking down the street, there's tons and tons and tons. I'm noticing the violets. I'm noticing, you know, even when I walked in here, I know that Jo loves purple, but I kind of went, oh, that kind of looks like the violet that I saw the other day. Why is it talking to me all the time? Jo knows because she's been tapping into me the last week or so. I'm so busy at the moment. It is ridiculous. And I need to slow down somehow. I need to get a bit of tranquility. I know that's what they need. Violets also, and that family also tap into communicating with other people as well, and with making the things that you need understood by other people. And I'm finding I haven't been able to do that for the last few months. So that's a way that I can look at that and go beyond the word tranquility. It's like, and you can, this is what you can do with a deck like this, or any plant deck, actually any deck, okay, is go through face up. I do this all the time and go, what's really calling to me? Instead of going, I'm going to do a random, I actually use decks more this way, to be quite honest. I go, what's really calling to me on the image, you know, and it's really good if you need your glasses to read words because you can't see the keywords, so you're blind to them. So maybe squint, okay? or get something and put Vaseline lens over the top. But if you do that, and just pick something and go, look, I really, yeah, what's that? And then you see what you're attracted to. Or, as I said, if it's a plant deck or something like that, what plants am I seeing? Go through a deck of this. There's lots of other people that do plant decks and flower decks and things, and see what it says, or look up as well. I'm going to show you a great way to look up all meanings and things. Okay, so the next one, I know I'm going, this is like the long version. Refinement. Oh, dahlias are all in at the moment. They're everywhere. I love looking at people's dahlias. So dahlias are about refinement. Okay, so we've come so far in something. What can we do that can make it better? Okay, so it's not so much about poshy refinement. It is, what can we do to make this better? How can we, you know, take the next level up as well? And that's what happens. Oh, sorry, thank you. That's okay. So I've got to go. No, I'm told I'm terrible at this sort of thing. Pansies are about attraction. Really, really good for people that want to boost in finances, and also anything. They want to attract anything towards them. I'd put little, you know, we used to give posies of pansies to people, and that was like posies of pansies people. Yeah, do that. Because that's good. Nasturtiums have always meant victory. Wow. They're a lovely peppery thing, even to eat them. You can taste that in them, so they really spur people on. They do mean victory. They're a lovely pot plant to give to someone to say congratulations, because they'll keep that energy will keep going as well. Because, you know, there's not just one victory. It's like we're on a path of things. Figs are about fertility, vitality as well. They're very good for people who are trying to make something new happen. If this comes up for you, it might be you need a boost in vitality. You need to, you know, look at that and or put more energy into something as well. Wholeness. Black mulberry is about wholeness. Okay, white mulberry is about, because it's like, I'm like this, did I put it in there? No, I had so many more. It should have been a deck of like 200. Black mulberry. The extras. Yeah, I know, I have to do the expansion pack. Okay. Okay, so white mulberry is about spirituality, like spiritual wholeness, and black mulberry is about physical wholeness. Okay, so what do you have to do to get that wholeness and in line and balance as well? And what are you not looking at? Are you not looking at the big picture? That's the sort of energies there. A bay is about wisdom. If you've got a garden, you have to have a bay tree. There's just no getting around it. You can grow one in a pot. They're very slow growing. They're yummy in soups and everything, but also they will help you connect with the wisdom. Sorry, I did it again. The wisdom of everything that you're doing. Look, I use them as bookmarks as well. When I'm doing things, I use them. You use them in spell work. You dry them out, have them in places where you study and working. Bay is wonderful. It's bay laurel. It's also what they used in ancient Greek for the Olympics. You know, you put around your head, and also the leaves that they use on Anzac Day for remembrance, because it's respect as well. So that's it. It's not so much about victory then. And whenever you're using bay, the other thing energetically, you should always have the pointy part of the outside leaves pointing up, okay, because that's about wisdom going up and about things, you know. That's why even if you wear it I've seen people make flower crowns and put bay in there, and they have them all going down. They should be all going up, everybody up. Okay, we don't want to diminish anything in that. Okay, so that's very important. Cauliflowers are about transition. The moon, okay, very connected with the moon, night and day. Look at it, looks like a moon. And also all the little things look like clouds as well. So we're talking about, you know, the change of the weather, things that change from one thing to another. Who's grown a cauliflower? All of a sudden you have all these leaves. That's what they look like, all these leaves. And all of a sudden one day you sort of look inside the leaves, I've got a cauliflower. It's like a little white cauliflower in the middle. And it just happens all of a sudden. And it seems like it's never going to happen, but then that cauliflower appears and then gently grows, slowly grows, and then quickly grows. And to protect them and keep them nice and white, you do tie all of the leaves over the top, okay? That's to blanch them and they won't go bitter, because if they all reveal to the sun all the time, they'll actually get a little bit bitter and they'll go a bit darker. So that's a little garden trick. But the transition, because they're not there and all of a sudden they are there. Very like, oh. So that's it, one to the other. So this is, oh look, now this one goes without saying, doesn't it? Potatoes, grounding. I mean, you don't even have to think about that, okay?
Yeah.
They're really nutritious. They're under the ground as well. That's where they grow. They're the tubers of the plant. So they're actually, tubers are modified root systems. So it's actually, so part of the roots, they go down and then you end up with these big bulbous things that grow out, and they're there to store energy for the rest of the plant. So they are, if you think of that on a magical or in a spiritual sense, it's where all the energy is stored and it's all pulled down and it's there for later on. That's what it's there for. So looking at how things grow and how they live in their normal, their everyday life. Because plants aren't there necessarily for us. They need us. As I said, we need to eat that apple and spit it out somewhere. We're great. We help them out. But they're doing their own thing. And ethnobotany is about us helping them as much as them helping us. For us to pull those tubers out of the ground and disturb them all, eat some of them, and you know how they grow from the eyes, okay? So we don't want the outside. We peel it and go, I don't want this dirty skin, chuck it away somewhere, and it grows. So, you know, who's asking who to do what? You know, this is what I always think. The plants are asking us to help them because they're very clever. They're getting to be dispersed. They're getting to live. They're getting to have room to do things because they're attractive to us. We think potatoes are yummy, okay? And so the yummier and sweeter they can be, the more we want them. So they develop themselves that way through evolution, and then we help them by throwing out their, I eat the skins, but, you know, not everybody does. Okay, cucumbers are about emotions. No secrets there. Full of water. Okay, so they're full of water and they're full of seeds, full of potentials. You know, they're really full of seeds as well. So that's why they're connected very much with emotions. Won't go into it all in case there's children there. Okay. But yeah, document signatures. And productivity is about the pumpkin. This is a Kent pumpkin. Every pumpkin, every type of these vegetables and fruits, every single type will have a slightly different meaning, okay? So there are different types of marrows, different types of squashes, and different types of pumpkins as well, and similar, and joining families as well. Kent pumpkin is all about productivity, and it is the pumpkin that a lot of people use for Halloween, okay? So we need to be, when Halloween happens, which is at the end of the harvest, so Halloween in Australia is actually in April, that's it. It's not in November because it's the end of the harvest. So if you wanted to celebrate correctly, and well, the way that you connect with the seasons. If you're a gardener, you're not going to be, this is how I look at it. If you're a gardener, you know Halloween isn't then because it's like pumpkins aren't ready then. And Halloween's all about the harvest. It's about the change into the night. We're going into the night. So pumpkins are about productivity because what are we doing before we're going into the big winter? Not so much where I am in Australia because we have different season. But if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, you are going to have to store pumpkins. You're going to have to go out there and get it, harvest as much as you can to get you through the winter. So that's why it's connected with productivity. There's lots of seeds in there. We're going to dry those seeds so that we can plant them so we've got more next year as well. So it's very much about that. The colours as well of the Kent pumpkin, orange, that orangey yellow, energy. That's what it's about, stored energy and the energy to get through these things as well. So that's the whole deck.
Wow. Well done.
That's like the biggest read-through that I've ever done. That was very, very fun. Okay, so I'm just going to have a little sip of water.
Have a sip? Yeah, absolutely. Wow, they're beautiful cards. Thank you. And honestly, for anyone to do like a bit of a flip through on a video, that is far and away way more interesting.
Oh yeah, it's like
and comprehensive. Thank you.
Well, I hope that when people are thinking about, if you're using these or using any cards or any word that's connected with nature, that's what you have to do. And I've always gone back to the source. The source for me is actually the plants itself. I mean, it might sound a little bit like, oh, what all people have used plants. I then look at the different cultures and myself and my experience, but it's the plants. What are they for? What have they done? Where have they come from? Where were they first grown? That is so important. And what were they doing? And how do they get pollinated? How do they get harvested? How do they get dispersed? What sort of landscape can they not grow in, not tolerate? There's a lot that you can see from this plant can't stand frost. This one's no good in the heat either. So these are, you know, this is why it takes so long for me to write a book or to do a deck. There's a lot of research. I know a lot of it and I have a lot of experience, but then tapping that down into making something workable in a small format is actually, it's difficult. It's fun, but it's difficult. So unless there's any question, yes?
I've just put on a comment there to say taking questions now,
Okay.
just while you were talking.
Yes.
So any that come up, I'll read them out to you.
That. Tell me there's a question there. I'm just ducking down under my table because I'm going to show you, particularly.
Wow.
Okay, so I get asked this.
And I just want to interrupt you just very
Yes.
quickly. Cheryl and Kerry says, thank you, this was wonderful, and I look forward to using the deck. And that's been echoed, actually. There's been a few people saying, thank you, it's beautiful.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool. I know the word you get from Joe. No, I really want, look, support your local stores. I'm very much about support, you know, hashtag support local. I'm very, very passionate about it. The reason that I'm here doing this is because I read. I read. I've been a reader of stories. I have been a reader of botanical history, of old science books, of gardening books, and I can't imagine writing anything unless I was a reader. And my favourite places in the world, and I get really teary about this, are the bookstores. And there is nothing that upsets me more than seeing a bookstore close. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot. There's different ways that people sell things and have things out there, but I traditionally publish. I have a publisher, and I want to support bookstores because I want the bookstores to keep open, you know. I want to give a little shout out because I know that some of the people are watching. Berkeley in Leichhardt as well. I get a lot of secondhand books from you guys and new books at times as well, and they're amazing, and I don't want any Berkeley bookstores to close ever because when I go to Sydney I can't sit up on the lounge upstairs and write in my sketchbook and sit in that lovely window and drink coffee, and I get really sad. I know they're going to be okay, but and that's why I'm here. This is local for me. I live on the Central Coast. Joe is on the Central Coast. And I made the decision that, you know, if anyone wants signed copies of mine, I will support someone who's local to me. And the sad fact is we don't have any bookstores, actually, just about anymore. It's horrible. We've got big shopping centres. I think Erin has got a head case, and I love them. They're fantastic. But, you know, local to me is Lake Haven. There's 5 jewellery stores. You know, I won't say all the names, but, you know, they're the chain ones. There's 5 of them. No bookstore, no art store. No, that's it. And I just think 5 jewellery stores. It's just like, you know, and no bookstore. You know, and I cannot stand it. So that's my little thing. So please support local. And I have to be very careful, but, you know, I won't say the name, so please support local. I think you all know what I'm saying. Okay, so where do I get my information from? I got this question a lot. I have it all the time, and I got it a lot in the last couple of weeks. Whenever a new publication of mine comes out, people want to know what book I used to get the information to write my deck. So here we go. So this is a new one. Oh, sneaky peek. Rush copy.
Bring it a bit closer, yes.
Yeah, that's coming out.
Look at that.
I think it's coming out in May, everybody. The Language of Flowers Oracle, I think. Rockpool as well. That's my publisher. But anyway, so I'll have that all again, okay? All again. So, and I know people want to write their own things as well. So they're like, oh, where do you get it all from? What's the magical book, you know? And I know I can sound really like, get out in the garden and have a look, but I don't know everything. Here's a little story. So I'm a community gardener. It is my absolute, that's what I do. I also do a community radio show that has become really, really popular on the Central Coast, At Home with the Gardening Gang. And it's just crazy. I'm so lucky I work with one of the industry legends, Pete Little, who's mentoring me. And our show's gone to 2 hours, a 2-hour radio show on gardening. We have music as well. 80s. So it's really, really cool. It's becoming very popular and podcasted now. And I also write for 2 of the newspapers on the Central Coast as well, and I absolutely love it. All of that information, I share with people. I'm talking about how to garden, what to do, and that is my life and my passion. But I don't know everything. In one of my my major community garden, Swamp, Sustainable Wetlands Agricultural Makers Project at Tuggerah, which will be we hope, the hub of training for community gardens in New South Wales, hopefully Australia as well. It's this amazing big project, and I'm the garden curator. Shoulders are heavy, but I have fun. I'm not a big citrus person. Love citrus, but I've never been, I think because I can make a million excuses. I haven't had the room, I haven't this and that, but citrus it's just like, it's just an area that I'm not 100% great with. You know, things happen with citrus trees. I'm like, oh, damn, not very good. I've killed more lemon and lime trees than, I can possibly, I can see my family sitting there going, yeah, Mum, how's the Tahitian lime going you put in last year? Anyway, we have an amazing gardener that I found. You do find people like this. He started the community gardens in Canberra. Graham Croft, and he's joined our team, and I've asked him to be co-curator with me because it is such a huge project. It needs 2 garden curators. A garden curator is somebody who designs, makes the decisions of what's planted, helps with the education of a garden as well, and also is responsible for keeping the botanical history of the garden. They're usually found in larger botanical gardens, but this project is so big we need a curator, and like the botanical gardens in Sydney, we need more than 1 curator, so there's the 2 of us. Graham is the citrus jet of the century. Wow. He is amazing. It's like, universe, thank you. And he's saved the life. Oh, Jo, you were down at Swamp. Yes. You saw that, that lime tree? I should show you before, after. Like, we've actually broken ground in the last few weeks, but Graham snuck down there in November before we had the license, because this is like me with roses and also with vegetables, I think, as well. He was like, I can't stand seeing this dying lime tree, and it is amazing. It's just like this miracles happen because it just has, the touch of with these limes, they're wonderful. He is amazing. And you know what everyone says when they see that lime tree, who've seen that? That's magical. That's a miracle. That's, oh my gosh, or, wow, what sort of magic's this? And I've never seen anything. Graham, it'd be funny if you're watching Graham. Graham is not pagan-y, witchy or anything, and we have a laugh about what I do. But he is probably the most spiritually connected person to land, Caucasian person I have ever met. And that's the whole thing. Yeah. You don't need to be, there isn't, it's within you, and it's just that you've focused it. That's what you've done. You have focused that energy and that passion. You haven't, I like other things as well, but this is what I do. So when people say, and this is the question as well, how do you become a green witch? How do you know? It's like, I love plants. You just walked in with a plant before, didn't you? Yeah, there you go. You want a garden. You've got a passion for it some way. I'd say, Graham, you're a green witch. You don't know it because that's like magic. Yeah. But people are saying that there's that sort of magic. Now, this is I've had these on top of my head, and I do have gel in my hair, so I always do this. I put them on my head, and then, does everyone do that? Look at that. Excuse my hair gel. Okay, so this is case in point as well. So where do I get all of my information from? I'm not going to pull out, the tomb of ancient secret witchcraft gardening. Sorry. Yeah, you're all disappointed. You're all disappointed. These are my favorite. And I'm going to tell you, this is my really favorite, one of my favorite books. This is cool. Now, and I'll do this one. So here's a really good one. So here we go. Alan Searle. Now, those of us of a certain age will remember Alan Searle. Oh, God. Alan Searle used to write for the Australian Woman's Weekly, okay, or your mums will know. And he had a radio talkback show called In Your Garden. I'm reading this on the back. I haven't remembered all this. He received his MBE in 1980. He was the first Australian person to be awarded an MBE or any sort of honour for gardening. That's it. Big shoes to fill. No. But these are the books. These are, you can see I got it for $1 at Vinnie's. Okay, there's tons of gardening books at Vinnie's. This is the magical books written by somebody. You know, look at the person who wrote the book, Alan Searle, bloody legend. Okay, his book and photos from his gardens that he went to, and his description, are fantastic. Look, he writes. This is great. You can pick it up at any page in these old books. Okay, he doesn't write, get some soil, plant it here. No, the finer the soil is, the closer the particles will pack together. You'll even notice that smaller air spaces will form between them. You don't want clay particles at all. You want the finest soil that you can possibly get, because this will ensure a successful creeper. That's it. I can imagine him saying it. He's not saying, get the soil, do this. He's describing it in the way that he sees it and the way he feels it as well. When you read these books, and they probably stopped writing like this in about the time of Mr. Searle's time. But you know when they used to write about it all the time? A long time ago. There's a book, I didn't bring it in because I've lent it to someone, The Moorville Hours. We'll write it down for people. It is a beautiful story, and it is a little bit on Christianity. It's based on a Christian concept of the clock hours, but it's mostly about gardening. You'll see that. So, the way this woman describes how she first starts gardening is amazing, and it's inspiring for anyone, whether they're gardening already or whether they want to begin. Now, I've got some other ones. Okay, so here we go. There you go. I learned to grow vegetables. There you go. Written in by Stanley Johnson. Well done. It's got lots of things.
It's like about 1950 or something.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one. I can never remember when they're no, you're wrong.
Oh, of course.
1918. 1918. So here we go. The plot being made over by you will naturally mean you have to get to work. But don't be in such a hurry that you forget the procedures of getting a ball of string 12 yards long, making knots in it every yard, and fixing a little wooden stake at the end. This is where you'll put your seeds. You know, this is like,
my goodness.
It's
step by step.
And it's the connection to land. You can see that land, can't you? You can see, instead of going, plant every 12 centimetres or something, it's like, that's great, but this is where the magic comes from and the understanding, because I'm listening to the way Mr. Stanley has written, who's a gardener, and I am understanding what's happening, and then when I'm going out, I'm being, and I'm sorry, it is a catchword, mindful of how I'm doing it. Whether I'm using a piece of string 12 yards long or a Stanley tape measure, I'm still in that process of connection. We've lost that of being a lot more clinical these days and hurry up, get the, you know, unfortunately it's copy, paste, share, copy, paste, share. It's like, go back to how you connect with the garden when you write in your journals as well, and when you garden as well, and observe what you're actually doing. And just like, you know, I just love these little drawings. Look at this. Oh, yeah, look at this. He's made his potatoes. Look at that. Well done, Stanley. He's like, there you go, there's my potatoes. Love it. I can tell a lot from this. That's so good. And look, I can tell that he's a little bit, you know, retentive, you know, or OCD. Look, his potatoes in there. He's put them all in that little, what's he done? There's my potatoes. No, this, I swear to God, I did not stage this, because I buy all my books. This one has not for that. And this, oh my goodness, here we go. So you end up with this in these old books. So I think he might have stolen it from this library. This person before but then the person wrote down, look, they just wrote down how many, look, they've written their gardening notes. Magic. They've written that. They've written their gardening notes. Okay. How many they're going to plant. They were planted yeah, there you go. Oh, no, it's the prices. It's the prices they can sell them for. Well, there we go. Wow. There we go. That's really good. That goes in here. So same as botany. You've got to learn a bit about botany, okay? This is an old textbook that you can pick up. There's beautiful books. I couldn't bring everything. There's beautiful books that you can pick up. The Royal Horticultural Society has one called Botany for Gardeners. It's on Kindle, I believe. It's an essential book, I think, for anyone wanting not so much to garden, but if you want to connect spirituality and find about the meanings of plants. Botany for Gardeners, and also Latin for Gardeners, Royal Horticultural Society. They're about, I don't know, $25, $30 each. I don't know, I might be wrong there, so I won't say that. When we look at the names of plants, the Latin names, we can find out a lot about them. There's a plant here called Pandaria, what's it called, Wonga Wonga vine. I talk about it all the time, planting it everywhere. It's an evergreen. It has flowers every now and then. It has leaves that very much look like jasmine leaves. So they're that dark, glossy leaves, thick, beautiful twining vines as well that seem to come out of nowhere and just twist beautifully around things. It is gorgeous on arches. I've got one on an arch as well. It's an Eastern Australian native as well. It's an endemic plant to the area. Endemic plants are ones that were here originally. Now, the botanical name for is Pandaria jasminides. It means Pandaria, Pandora's box, the history of that. A lot of our Latin names are based on beautiful old mythology as well. This is where they get the stories from. They're not just, some things are named after people, you know, like we've got 500 million Banksia things because Joseph Banks liked to name things after himself, so his name gets into a lot of things. And interesting enough, there's a lot of Menzies. A lot of things were discovered at the time of Robert Menzies, our Prime Minister, sorry, people outside of Australia. So at the time of a certain Prime Minister, there was a lot of orchids as well discovered, and so there's a lot of these things with the word Menzies in it, and that's just as a reference to the beloved Prime Minister at the time, people who liked him. Back to Pandaria jasminides. Jasminides, not jasmine. A lot of people look at it and go, oh no, I don't like jasmine, it gives me hay fever. It won't give you hay fever. It's jasminides, like jasmine. Okay, so Pandora, dark, secretive, and Pandaria jasminides is a beautiful harbouring vine when it grows very thickly on things and around trees and things that little animals, Australian animals, hide in it and nest in it. Little birds nest in it. Our native bees love it. Our little blue-banded bees, there we go, love Pandaria jasminides. So looking at those names, we can get ideas. Floribunda is in a lot of flower plants. There's I'm trying to think, a gardenia. There's a gardenia floribunda. Lots of flowers, flora abundant. Yep. Okay, that book, that can help you. So you want to connect spiritually with something. Those Latin names are beautiful segues into it. And that book, there's a few out there that are botany for gardeners. Latin for gardeners. They will let you get into that story, and the book actually describes like what does floribunda mean, and it'll say that, and what does jasminides mean, so you can get that. And there's tons of plants like that, and it opens up that story. Okay, so magic. Okay, now this is I shouldn't say it's a trick, it is a trick. The complete book of garden magic. Look at that. Yes. So there we go. So here's one. I love this one. Okay, I bet you all, I know what you're all thinking. You're wrong. So I looked for this book for so long, and then I got it for $10 in Newcastle at a secondhand bookstore. It was published in 1946 in Chicago. And that's the most magical thing is the person who had this book, and I don't know who it is, wrote poetry all the way through it about trees and plants. And it's got, look, all the way through it, they've got notes. So I think that's magical. And it was given to, and if anyone's out there, Margaret Graham of Singleton in 1946, this is your book, okay? Garden magic has nothing to do with magic. It means how magical is gardening, okay? So it is very much a textbook about gardening in Australia, and it is, anywhere, sorry, Chicago, anywhere. And what they're actually meaning by the magic, the drawings are amazing. And it just means the complete book of it doesn't mean magic is the way we're all thinking Green Witch, but that's how it's thinking. But I think of this as the beginning of that sort of green witchcraft. We're all somehow a green witch. And this book even, this name, hang on, one of the colour plates. There we go, 1946. How cool is that? Wow. There's a lily pond for you, everybody. Yeah. So go to your secondhand bookstores, have a look for these things. They don't have to literally be called the Book of Garden Magic. I was just looking for this for so long because I love the title and I loved the information in it as well. Now, things change, of course, in the environment, and there'll be things in here that are not, you know, they will tell you, not in this one, but they will tell you in some of these older books, you know, get some DEET out and spray it all over things, and, you know, and it's like, wow, okay, might write a poem over that one.
Good paper.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, maybe that's it. So you, of course, things change as we know better, and not all of these books have good organic practices in them. The really early ones do, because they just didn't have the chemicals around then. So if you're getting books from the 19, what have I got? I've got books that go back to the early 1800s, like beautiful little old books, and they don't have any of that sort of stuff in there.
Wow.
But you need to. Yeah, I just don't carry them around over there, and I have just found them in amazing places. But that's where you get the magic from. The magic is from people who have connected with the language, the power and the energy of plants, and shared that with other people. And that's all my work's about, is sharing it with people who want to connect with it. I know that there's people out there that are far better gardeners than me and have lots more knowledge than me, and people who are just starting out. But the bottom line is everyone needs to be part of the conversation, especially now when it comes to plants and gardening. And it's not standing up saying I'm the best, or I'm not any good, I've got a brown thumb. It's being part, in whatever way you can, of part of the conversation to help our earth, to help our plant life survive, and not just survive but to thrive, and for us too. So thank you so much for being with me today. I know there might be some questions afterwards, and no, there's not going to be questions right now, but yeah, later on, I know Joe will send them through to me as well. So thanks a lot for being with me. May nature always bless you, but much more importantly, may you always be a blessing to nature. Thank you, and thank you, Joanne. Avalon by Nature. Thank you.
Wow.